the important topic in iOS development. What is the difference between structure and classes? And this is the important topic from interview perspective as well. So let's create one struct, person, first name as string, last name as string, and create one class as well by simply just copy pasting the struct and person, as both have person name. So let's change to differentiate. Now we should we start getting error as class has no initializer, but struct is fine. It doesn't require any initializer because it has its own default member-wise initializer to initialize the first name and last name. So let's create one initializer for the class. Now this error should away. Yeah, so we uh, we can see the struct is fine and struct doesn't require any initializer default, and but class required some initializer to initialize its properties. So let's create object for the struct and class. Let person struct one as person struct. Here we can see, as we have not created any initializer, but we are still getting initializer to initialize the first name and last name for the struct. This is the default initializer. So let's click on this and initialize the struct and create object for class person class, and here is the initializer that we have created. So for the first point, we demonstrated the struct has its own default member-wise initializer, but for the classes, we need to create the initializer to initializes the property. Next, we have the structs are value types and classes are reference type. This is important point. For the structs value types, we can assume we have one document. Let's assume we have one document and we have mailed it to someone. So other person has its own copy of the document and I have my own copy of the document. We both can modify our own documents. So the uh, means by modifying one of the document and another document doesn't impact it because we have our own copies of the document. And for the classes reference types, we can assume we have one common document. We have one document shared in the Google Drive, and I have given permission to someone to modify that document. Like if another person modifies the document placed at a common place in the Google Drive will impact it. So, uh, like if we both modify the document placed in the Google Drive will get changed. So let's demonstrate this point. Let's create another object, person struct 2, person struct 1. We have we created another object, person struct 2, and assign this person struct 1 to the person struct 2. Now let's change the first name for the person struct 2 only to John. Now print person struct 1 dot first name and print person struct 2 dot first name. Now let's run. Oh, it's complaining the person struct 2 should be where, as we are modifying the person struct 2. So let's change it to where. We have changed it to where. Now is fine. Now if we run our code, oh, so see, person struct 1 is Vikas itself, and person struct 2 uh, becomes John. Person struct 2 dot first name becomes John, as the person struct 1 has its own copy of the person struct which doesn't modified, but person struct 2 is modified, has its own copy in this case. So let's do the same experiment for the class as well. Person class 2 and give it to person and assign the person class 1. Let's print, and firstly let's change the first name to John and print person class 1 dot first name and print person class 2 dot first name. To differentiate, let's add one differentiator. Okay, now let's run our code. Here is the difference. So person, by changing the person class 2 first name, person class 1 first name also modifies. Now the first name for both the objects, person class 1 and person class 2, becomes John. So we can see the struct are value types. They are just transferring and class. They are just transferring the values, and classes are reference type. They are sharing the common single copy of the object. Next, third point, we have classes support inheritance and a structure does not support inheritance. So this is one of the reason where we need inheritance, we have to use classes, as a structure doesn't support inheritance. To demonstrate this, let's create one more structure. Can say another person and I have inherited with a person struct. So compiler should give error in this case. Yes, we start getting the errors. Inheritance for the known protocol type person struct. So so compiler is not happy for as we inherited the struct. But if we do the same thing for the class, so person class and change it to class. So compiler should be fine for now. Yes. So we cannot inherit structure, but we can inherit class. And the fourth point we have, structures are immutable by default and classes are mutable. So to demonstrate this, let's create, and so here we have this fourth point we demonstrated here, and here we have the first point, and here we have the second point. Now demonstrate, oh, this is the third point, demonstrate the fourth. So structures are immutable. Like when we create our structure object, we cannot modify the structure object after creation, but we can modify the classes, right? If we modify the structure object, structure creates its own another copy. Instead of modifying in the existing copy, when we modify any structure, it creates a new copy. But for the classes, if we modify any property for the class, so class, the object which is already exist will get modified. So to demonstrate this, let's create one function named uppercase. So first name dot uppercase, last name uppercase. We have created one function. So it's start complaining, right? We cannot assign property self is immutable as structure. Self is immutable, so we need to tell the compiler we are going to update the first name and last name here. So how can we convey to the compiler here? By just adding mutating keyword in front of the function. So now compiler is happy. Now we can update the first name and last name as an uppercase. Um, as in this case, if we call this function, so structure, so we will get a new copy of the structure, not the previous one. And for the classes, if we copy this function, let's do the same thing for the classes as well. So classes does not require any mutating keyword. So compiler should happy now. Yes. So we have seen if we modify any structure property, we require mutating keyword, but for the classes but for the classes we do not require any mutating keyword. It itself update the existing class object. So uh, we demonstrated these 4 points today. Guys, hope you like the video. If you like the video, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next video. Thank you.